Call this meeting to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One of these times I'm going to start that by saying Our Father.
Muscle memory.
First item of business is the minutes. Everyone's had a chance to look at the minutes from the last meeting. Anybody have any changes that need to be made? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the minutes of the November 10th meeting.
Second.
Been properly moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the last board meeting. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. The next item of business is the approval of the general fund vouchers 82.82.6 through 82.89.2, voiding 82.790, and wire transfers 2026-0155 through 2026-0209. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the general fund vouchers, the void, and the wire transfers.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the general fund vouchers, wire transfers. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. The next item of business is our public comment. I don't see anybody here in that capacity, so we'll move on to our first item of board business, approval of resignations and retirements.
And nothing on there, so nothing to...
The waters are quiet. All right, then the next item of business would be the approval of hires.
All right, we do have some items there, which is good to report. So a couple coaching positions, a couple long-term substitute teaching positions. So Tom Schaefer has agreed to do to fill the open junior high wrestling coach. Ed Mogul will continue to be the other one, and then Tom will also volunteer when he's able to with the varsity wrestling program. And he was the wrestling coach in Clayton last year. He was a teacher in Clayton. But so with the future co-op, kind of a nice link with the two programs. So then we've also got Peter Paulson, agreed to be a high school part-time assistant wrestling coach. And you might recall with the changes that the WIA did to separating out the girls wrestling program, we needed that third position. We had it posted, really didn't find anyone able to do it fully, but Pete was willing to help out as needed in that capacity, which is great. Obviously, Pete's a former head coach here and former longtime assistant wrestling coach. And then Rob Burbach, volunteer high school assistant girls basketball coach. Again, that's one we had posted for a long time. Recruiting efforts didn't get any applicants, and Rob was willing to help out as the season was starting and said he'd be willing to lend a hand to assist through the season. So, and then we've got a couple of long-term substitutes. So Lisa Benson filling as a long-term substitute counselor at the elementary school. You might know who Lisa is. She's a retired counselor from the Amory School District for many years. She's filling in for Mrs. Van Hooklam while she's on maternity leave. And then we've got Ashley Long, she has been serving as our long-term sub in 6th grade. And she has agreed to continue for the whole year. It was initially going to be for this first semester till holiday break here, but she's going to do the entire year, which is we're pleased to hear that. So those 5 positions.
Is that just an open position in 6th grade, or is
That's the one that backed out late.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's the rationale again?
Yep, that was, yeah. And we did post it again here. And Ashley was insistent we did that, so
Yeah.
to her credit of her integrity, she's like, nope, I want you guys to make sure you post it.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve the hires and the volunteers.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve our 5 new hires. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. The next item of business is consideration/approval of long-term unpaid leave of employment.
Okay, so we have one of our staff members at the elementary school, Courtney Luke, who is newer to us this year and is expecting and has not been employed long enough to qualify for FMLA. However, would like to take a leave of absence to care for her child, so a way we can still prove that certainly locally through our own our own handbook policies and the board's authority to just approve. It would have the exact same effect. It's basically just approving the time off and allowing her to return to her position. So I would recommend, that would be my recommendation, that the board does approve. If there's any other questions, if there's any in-depth questions, it could be tabled and discussed in the closed session. Otherwise, it could be approved now.
Yep, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the leave, maternity leave.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve the long-term unpaid leave. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next item of business is the approval of the 26-27 district calendar.
All right, so we started the calendar, I guess, in early November. We started working on it. Then we had a calendar committee meeting right after Thanksgiving break and discussed the different variables that could be still looked at and changed. And the calendar that's attached is what the group came up with from consensus. Really no changes to what we have typically kind of traditionally done here. So we've been doing 175 school days since the shift has been from days of school to minutes of school, or hours of instruction, I should say. We've been doing 4 in-service days, so that added another in-service day for us. So we've been doing 4 at the start of the school year, which has been well received. So we've got the 4 days there in August. The committee liked the idea of having no in-service on that Friday the 28th and just having a 3-day weekend, and so no issues with that. So start date of September 1st. Then we fill in, the holidays, the regular federal holidays and holidays that we always recognize, and then we just try to always make the quarter end on a Thursday or a Friday, so that the in-service day is a Friday or Monday. Again, some of the holidays just kind of determine themselves. And spring break, we looked at a couple of different options there. We think about the ACT test window and how that's impacted, and we look at the end of the quarter and how that's impacted. And also the committee just decided to stay, that third week, I should say, in March has been what we've done every time, and just kind of that consistency, predictability there. So left it there. That Friday the 26th of March, that's Good Friday. So
That's not Good Friday, actually. It's actually April 2nd.
You sure?
Oh,
Okay.
maybe I'm not.
No, I'm questioning.
Yeah. Oh, I looked at 26.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, did I mess this? We all looked at it, oh man. Oh, okay.
Oh, I was looking at the wrong year, so.
Okay. Oh, good. Thank you. I thought I messed that up. Okay. Yeah. Otherwise, we've got the parent-teacher conference dates filled in there too. So I don't know if there's any questions or.
What is ACP?
Academic career planning. So good question. Yeah. So
I was like, what?
this year will be the second year where the 4th night of parent-teacher conferences, the high school, junior, senior high teachers, instead of having that May or late the conference that we get virtually no attendance, they're taking that period of time and going out and doing activities, visiting work sites, or continuing education to get our staff more in tune with post-secondary options, so that feeling that they will be better ambassadors of that by having more knowledge about what's going on out there. So, good question. Great question.
I have to say, this year, having that full day off before Thanksgiving was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It made it feel like another vacation that week. It was great.
Yeah, that's been. I think this was the second year we did it. That I agree. That has been very well received. It seems like
It almost felt like a Christmas vacation.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So.
All right. Any other discussion on the district calendar? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2026-27 district calendar.
Second.
It's been properly moved and double seconded to approve the 26-27 calendar. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. The next item of business is the consideration/approval of substitute compensation.
So after we updated compensation for the regular staff, this was kind of on my radar. We haven't updated it since February of 2023. So we knew it was kind of due. Some of our neighboring districts have been looking at it too, so that also prompted it. Just put together some comparables, looked at some different options. Eve did some data mining to run some, like what have our expenses been, this past year, and then kind of project what would be the additional cost with these different ideas. So we got the teacher rate, and then we've also got the support staff rate. So, and most of you were on the board last time we updated it. So February 23, we upped the teachers to $130 a day. And just looking at it has jumped up a lot in the last 5 years. COVID had a big part in that. So anyway, if we did an increase, 145 perhaps 150 seems like a big jump. But when we look at the data, I don't know. There's a point of no returns there too, or diminishing returns, where we could pay astronomical amount. There's only so many subs to go around. It's kind of like we've said. It's kind of like referees. You can pay them $500 a game. Well, doesn't mean you're going to get more. There's only so many. Similar with subs, and we kind of have a niche with who works for us. But we do share some subs with some neighboring districts. Amory just up there's quite a bit. We have shared some with them over the years. I would say maybe not as many now as we used to, but we still share a couple. I wouldn't suggest that we would want to go as high as they did, but so something to consider with the teacher side. And then with the support staff, I looked at what we moved everything from, it was 12, moved it up to 15 back in 2023. Looked at what the current regular is, and a couple, if we move it up, where I got the 17 or the 1725 is off to the right there. You can kind of see what we did for the support staff in 2024. We did an 8% increase. 25 we did the 4% increase. This year the 2%. So I kind of just did a little rolling. What would that look like today? And just to have an even number, that's where I kind of got the 1725. Similar. I did a similar thing kind of with the teachers. Not that we have to follow that. I was just trying to have some kind of guideline to go by, and also looking at the comparables of our neighbors. So.
Where do you think we should be then, Chris? Which one of the proposals?
I feel like kind of the numbers with the support staff points to the 1725, and the additional amount is kind of minimal. With the teacher one, I kind of struggle with the two, 145 or 150. I was initially thinking 140, 145, and then I started seeing what the data says about our neighbors, and I was like, oh man.
It's hard to. Thing is, I've got 4 substitute teachers that have walked up to me in the last month and said they've never been called yet this year. They're barely, It's like.
Yeah, but they're handy to have when you do need them.
Yeah. I asked the principals, I'm like, well, what's our, what does it feel like? Does it feel like, some years it's felt tough. Other years it's felt like, no, we're in good shape. It just kind of feels normal this year. You go through days and weeks where you feel kind of tight, like there's just a lot of demand or a lot of need for staff absences, and then there's other weeks where it feels pretty, so it feels kind of like typical. So I don't say we're in like a crisis or anything like that, but I also wouldn't say that we're, have substitutes growing on trees out back either, So,
How much is 130 per hour?
well, let's see, they're here basically 7.5. So,
1733. So you're pretty much paying
One-
them the same as you're gonna pay your support staff.
7.5. Yeah, 1733,
We did
145.
150 is more like $20 an hour.
Yeah, and 145 is 1933 an hour. So,
Well, what do we want to do? Do we have to do the teachers? Are we doing the teachers, or are we doing the support as well?
I think both, but I mean, two different discussions, whatever.
All right, so the support, do we have averages that other people are paying?
I have not as good information. I'd say informal. I talked to a couple of our neighbors, and they're right in that 17 range. I was going more based on comparing to our regular employees. And that's the other thing too. If the board doesn't want to take action tonight, you don't have to. If we did, we would put it in place for January 1st. Any changes, any updates?
So if a teacher takes a day off, we're paying the teacher plus the sub. If a custodian takes the day off, we're paying a substitute.
We're paying the support staff too if they have a sick day or
Okay,
vacation
yeah.
day or whatever. Some of them do, some don't.
Do we always have to have a substitute for like a custodian?
If we don't get one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And looking at the numbers for expected cost increase, that's just based on last year's data, which
Phone usage.
it was a lot. It took a long time to pull that data because of the way it's separated out in WUFAR. So we only did 1 year. So I mean, last year could have been unusually high, unusually low. It didn't feel that way either way, but sometimes you have a maternity leave and then you have a long-term sub and then you pay more. But we also have decreased costs for the regular employee because they're unpaid, so that's kind of a wash, or actually a little bit of savings. I guess, Greg, you would ask me, I'd say support staff, I'd probably say the 1725 for the teacher. Like I said, I guess I didn't give, I'm kind of torn on that one, 145, 150. I guess if we went with the higher, I'd say we could probably be a little longer before we had to revisit it again, maybe. But
Yeah, 150 is the median, I guess.
yeah, I guess it is. It's tough because we border on some bigger middle border
It's also
schools
Rice Lake and
who pay, we border Amory, we border New Richmond. We don't really share subs with New Richmond. I'd say we do with Amory. But, our other neighbors, Glenwood, Boyceville, Clayton Prairie, they're kind of in our, Turtle Lake, they're kind of in close to where we are right now. So I don't want to overdo it, but I don't think they've done their update yet either, those neighboring schools. So
Well, just, I don't know. How do you guys feel about doing 150 and 17 and a quarter?
I'm good with it.
Yeah.
Yeah? All right, then I'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve 150 for subs and 1725 for custodial, food service, para, and secretary.
I second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to approve our substitute compensation. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. The next item of business then is the review of the state report cards.
Amazing.
okay, I'll give you guys some paper handouts too, just because these could be something you could take with you. Nice, just nice information to have in front of you. Take with you. I'd say there's some really great information to share.
Sorry.
Lots of information here, and we don't need to, overdo it, but I have a link in the board document, but it's what I gave you on paper, but it's comparable data with CISA 11. There's 39 schools listed there in CISA 11. And Mrs. Anderson had done most of the work on this to just put it together and just kind of, our nearby neighbors and, look at our conference and comparables. And again, the point of the report card is not a comparison to other districts. That's not the point of it, but it's more just to highlight our success, it's it's kind of human nature to kind of just want to be able to do that because it's just information too. But yeah, it was pretty cool to see the Polk County schools that Clear Lake had the highest district report card score, and obviously all so that's pretty awesome. So probably been a long time since we've been able to say that, if ever. I'd say with the current report card in this format, probably not ever. But the elementary, junior high, senior high scores all go into that. So yeah, pretty awesome. So every report card is in the exceeds expectations category, from the district to the high school to the junior high to the elementary. So something to be really proud of. So top 10 in the CISA. Historically, we've been on the other end of it where we've been lower on the list, and those that hasn't felt as good. So it's pretty awesome to see how our district has climbed up the ranks in the last few years. The other sheet of paper there too, and it's the first attachment inside the board meeting, is this the one with the green highlights on it. So this is something that we look at. We just enter all the numbers in every year, and then we look at, okay, is the score from this year higher or lower than last year? If it's higher, we highlight it green. And what's pretty cool is to see that last year, we had what I think was it 17 or 16 out of the 20 categories were green, meaning they scored higher than the year before, and this year it's even more, so 17 out of the 20. And what's really neat as well is the fact that the scores last year were good scores, and these still outpaced those. So kudos to our entire staff, our teachers, our administrators for their leadership of that, and our bus drivers and our food service and our custodians and our secretaries. Every single person that has an impact on what we do here and contributes to how we serve kids is part of this. So that's really something to be proud of, and something that we can wave high as a banner. And I guess the thing that I would like to point out is just what's the why behind it. What can we say, what do we think are the reasons for it? And we've talked about for years, we've talked about the professional learning communities process, and it's a way of doing business, and it's a way of collaborating, and a way of reviewing data and intervening for kids, and continuing to review data. And we started that in 2019. We were really in earnest. And then we had the pandemic that interrupted things for a couple of years, and we've been, really working hard at establishing those norms and establishing that culture. And I think we're really, seeing some of the payoff for that. And again, that's our individual teachers, our teacher teams, our administrators leading. That's really awesome. So I'd say the PLC. I'd say another thing is the historic investment we made in professional development. 2022, in the last 3 years, we used those ESSER funds mainly, and we made a big investment in professional development for our staff, working with CISA consultants. It was fun in our roles to be able to say yes to a lot of opportunities to send educators to different things to increase their learning. But I think it's tangible, the difference. So the PLCs, professional development, and then I think lastly too, the strategic plan makes this a priority and keeps it front and center and holds us accountable to keep working at it for progress. So I'd say the PLC, I'd say professional development, and I'd say strategic plan are the things that are helping to drive some of the success here. So kudos to the whole team for their work on that.
Question, Chris, you mentioned the PLC and the and the professional development, those are two things that we dump money into. Given the climate that we're rolling into here with limited funds, do we continue to fund those two things strongly, despite?
Yeah, I mean, I think, and we, you know, when we had the ESSER funds, that was really a real shot in the arm, and I think we've already backed it off a little bit, but we've talked about it at this table that, number one, it was the ESSER funds aren't there anymore, but also we've reached a point where, you know, we injected that shot in the arm, and then, but we're also, I think the principal's feedback, even this summer and last spring when we talked about it, was like, we're ready to just work more with our team now, but we're still buying, you know, days from CISA 11 in a greater number than we were historically prior to 2022. We're not buying 24 days, but we're buying 8 days or 10 days or whatever, which is still, you know, there were years ago we'd buy only a couple days. So I think we're still keeping that a priority, though. But yeah, we have to remember that the investment in our people is important.
So next year at this time, something to remember when
Right.
merits, and for sure,
Right.
if they keep excelling.
Right. So, principals, you guys also have done a lot of work with breaking down the data in a deeper level than we're going to do here tonight. But what would be any things? I'm putting you on the spot. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Any things that you? Any comments? Things I left out from the high level part here, or other comments? Or
I would say the strategic plan is giving us what we need to do, and that has been a driving force in this building.
I would say the phrase of high levels of learning for all, and all means all students, that culture understanding that all students deserve the best, and we will get them to reach high expectations. We put the bar high, and our students are working hard to reach that. And our staff understands what it takes, and that's a culture thing. So.
yeah, very proud of the work being done by everybody. So.
How do you get this word out? I mean, because I think it is great. I just think people really need to hear it.
I'm planning to put something out here within the week. Working on something to put in the Chronicle, but also beyond that, put it on our new live feed, our new news feed, to get it out to everybody on our website and so on. Just to highlight, and I think that part of that story is what we're talking about here, which is the why behind it.
Yes.
Like, how did we get the change? You know, it's those three things that we want to talk about, I think, with people, you know, and just give the kudos to everybody involved that's due. So.
Is the heading going to be Clear Lake is number one in Polk County?
You suggesting that, Greg?
I am suggesting.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
No,
So-
and that is impressive, because I mean that puts us in some pretty darn good company. You know, those schools have, you know, other schools, I mean, some excellent work that they do and have done over time. So it's a nice thing to highlight.
Yep, number one.
And we've got the report cards themselves attached, and I don't know that but just a reminder of how there's 4 aspects to the report cards. So, like, if I just look at the district report card, just a reminder of what's on them. You know, the cover page kind of has all the demographics about our district, has a summary of kind of what goes into it, but there's an area we look at achievement. So that's just, you know, look at number of students who score at a 3 or a 4. You know, how many percentage of kids do that, and that's our achievement score. And that's the area where we need to keep on growing and keep on improving there. Growth, which is change from one year to the next. And again, principals jump in and tell me when I misstate, or correct me when I misstate anything. But that's the change from one year to the next. And that is, you know, one of the things that's really driving our success. Is we've had really strong growth. And then target group outcomes are, you know, they identify statistically groups of students who have not achieved at the same rate as their peers. And that's also an area, like when Teresa said all means all, and when we talk about growth, you know, so we have students not just moving up to that 2 to the 3 or 3 to the 4, but it's students growing, who are, struggling learners or maybe students with special needs are still making, big gains of growth. Maybe they're not scoring a 4 on the forward exam, but they're making big gains that are very, very meaningful for those children. And that's a big part of what our effort is too. So, and then the on track to graduation is the fourth aspect of what we have. And so, all the report cards are attached and, goes into all the details on the multiple page reports. But if you scroll like to page, 3 and 4 and 3 and 5, you see kind of how the district falls like in the scale of districts across, like percentile rank of districts across the state. So in achievement, we're kind of in the largest group of schools or districts, I should say, and then we get to growth, and we're in that higher percentile rank of districts. Same thing with target group outcomes. We're in that higher percentile rank group, and on track to graduation there's a very tight gradient of school. Most schools are within a couple of points of each other, and we're in that large group. Other questions, comments?
On this page 9.
Are you in the district one?
Yeah, this is saying that, so it looks like our advanced courses and dual enrollment is lower, much lower than the state.
Yep. And this is from 23-24, so it's 2 years ago. I'd be curious to hear. I know we grew that number last year, but yeah, that's an area that we...
Keep in mind, that's informational only. It's not an impact on the score.
Right.
It's just their sports.
Yeah, thank you.
It's not their schools.
But yeah, our rate of participation in advanced courses and dual enrollment. Next page, it comes to art, music. We do well. We're outpaced with music by quite a bit. But yeah, that's good information to always be looking at to, and informs our strategic plan goals. One of them is to try to increase those numbers.
How did our school rate?
So out of this report, what do you see as our key thing that we got to work on the most?
27 on the board, 21.
I think, like I said, continuing to just grow the achievement number. And the growth is going into that, but just continue to push higher achievement for all students.
First in Polk County.
No. I'll do it. You were texting me.
Good job.
Yep.
You guys deserve a party.
Yeah, what kind of food are we having at the Christmas party this year?
Something special.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not spend all our money on food. We have work to do.
Yeah.
Right. No, it's just great news to share. And it's been fun for the, when we have staff meetings here, be fun for the.
Are we really the best in Polk?
Oh yeah, number
We really
one.
are.
Shell Lake, they're not in Polk?
No,
No, they're Burnett? No, Washburn.
That's awesome.
neat to see too. We're in the Dunn St. Croix conference now, and there's quite a few Dunn St. Croix schools in that top 10 list there. So.
Well, that's our next goal, I guess, then, huh?
Yeah.
Got some tough cookies up there, Elmwood and Elk Mound,
Yeah.
Spring Valley.
And really, we've talked about it at regional meetings, and the principals were talking about this. Just the idea of all of us as educators elevating elevating all of our public schools and elevating all of our CISA 11. We want to see all schools doing great.
Right.
It's not about a competition. It's about kids learning at a high level and what we can all do to support that. And I am very thankful that our CISA 11 is a very collaborative CISA. Like when we meet as a group every month, the superintendents meeting. It's very highly attended. It's not uncommon to have 25 or 30 more of the 39 districts represented. That is not the case at many other CISAs, and it's a group that is collaborative and not competitive, and it's a pretty cool thing. So it's a good culture in our CISA 11.
Right on. All right. Anything else to talk about on our report card? Good news. Next item of business then is the review of the 25-26 budget status.
So we had kind of, again, strategic plan, kind of said we would do a kind of mid-year. We're not quite at mid-year fiscally. It hasn't been quite 6 months here. Through November, it's 5. But, and this is the report that you guys see, but we just take a minute to highlight. So the first attachment there is that expenditure report, and I highlighted the summary for each of the sections by different objects. And so what you look at is the fourth column in. It says fiscal year to date %. So that means what % of the budget have we spent fiscal year to date. And then you go over to the far right column, and it's fiscal year to date percentage spent in 24-25. So this is just kind of a good gauge to see, like, how are we doing with our spending this year compared to last year. And you're just kind of looking for red flags, like, are we way over on anything? And we're not. So they're within, and it's nice to see if you're a little bit beating last year a little bit, by percentage. The first, salaries and benefits, that kind of is what it is. Those get paid out just on a regular basis. That's the easiest part. Purchase services, we're, 2% ahead of where we were last year. There's a couple items in there, like some technology things that I think we have, I don't know if we just, like some contracts or technology subscriptions that maybe we have just paid a little bit earlier maybe. But everything looks within line there. General supplies, non-capital things we're doing good. Don't have much of a budget for capital objects. Debt retirement, that's just driven by the debt schedule. Insurance kind of also is what it is.
Audio visual media must have got misbudgeted because it's 657% overspent.
What number is that?
431.
Yeah. Well, and it's a very small budget, it's only a couple $1,000, so yeah. And that might be something too, as we go through, sometimes we'll recode things. We could look and see what that was. Because
we missed something in budgeting.
Well, or it could be that we, maybe it should have been coded to the common school fund budget, if it was a library purchase, and maybe we just didn't code it that way. That would be something that we could see there. The other one that I asked about too was the last, the 900s too. So it says that I had there, and then it said custodial expenditures, and my mind went to custodian, and I talked to Eve about it, and that's not what it is. Eve, tell us what it is. Vicky told me.
The Clear Lake Scholarship Foundation monies are in there.
So it's a custodial account, not a custodial expense.
So we paid more out of that account than what was in the account?
No, we did a transfer. They did a transfer, I should say. They had a bunch of money. They wanted transferred into an investment account differently.
Gotcha.
So that's what that is. So that's what we had a good laugh. I was like, oh yeah. I read the word custodial and I'm thinking something entirely different than what it is. Yeah. So so that's what that was. So that was the only thing that jumped out to me. Otherwise, it's just kind of, again, you're looking for major differences, and I don't really see any. So the other thing. Is there any other questions on that document? Otherwise, I attached, and actually I made paper copies for you to take with you. Since it is, we did the levy and set the tax rate last month, and it's that season where maybe you get questions from folks, so I just printed off some historical information for you to have at your fingertips in case someone's asking about, differences from year to year. And also, if you get questions and you don't feel comfortable, just say, hey, have you thought about giving Chris a call? Go set up a meeting with him and talk through it, because with any of these, as we know, there's so much detail and a lot of nuance to it. It's hard for most anyone to look at the complexity of it and what am I looking at here? What is this? So the second page is just like the revenue limit worksheet, just arranged in a different way, and I just highlighted some things in there that are I think the color came out in a different color than on the printer. But anyway, just, what are some of the bigger driver? Yeah, this did not print out correctly. I apologize. I'm going to get you guys the correct one. I don't know what happened with the highlights here. I'm not sure what happened there. The colors are different. Yeah, the highlighted things are not how I had them on the last version that I did, so I don't know what happened here. But anyway, some things to highlight are like the non-recurring exemptions. So this means the things that allow you to go above the revenue limit authority that you first figure out which is your dollars per pupil times the number of pupils, and then there's those lines below. And we get a large amount of dollars for declining enrollment exemptions, and that is one of those things that's a red flag, because that's built into the sheet to give you a softening as you're going down. As your numbers are decreasing of students, that kind of softens the blow gradually. They run that 3-year average, and when you've got a big number there, that's telling you like you've got a big issue with declining, or you've got declining enrollment there. So that's something to track. And then the other one that's highlighted is the new choice pupils. Again, this would be the voucher, the money that we levy to pay for the expense of the vouchers, and we're at $263,000, over $250,000 that we're levying on local taxpayers to pay for students going to private voucher schools. So when you go back to that first page and you say, look at the percentage increase of our levy from one year to the next, take that $250,000 out of there, and that number, that increase goes down quite a bit. So, that's something to help people be aware of sometimes too.
Has the amount of the voucher schools per pupil increased over those years?
Yes.
Too? Okay.
The number of participants for us locally and the amount of dollars.
Okay. So it's a twofold.
It's
increase.
twofold. Yep. And I believe, the number, the dollars per pupil.
I think a couple of years ago it went to $3,350, and we got like $325.
Yeah, they got a lot more money per pupil of an increase.
So they get $3,000 per pupil.
$3,300.
They get that was the increase.
Yeah,
that was just the increase. They get more per pupil for that than public schools. And especially it's definitely more than open enrollment.
So we really need to tout our scorecards.
Chris, what was it called before? We called it new choice pupils, because they've been doing this prior to 21.
Yeah. So within the last 10 years, the choice program has expanded. It used to just be in Milwaukee 30 years ago. And then the last 15 years, it went to Racine and a couple other bigger cities. Now it's statewide. And then the other thing we're seeing with the advent of online offerings, you have students who could live in Clear Lake or Clayton, and there's no choice school within their close proximity, but they can now join virtually and take a class, attending a school in Milwaukee or Green Bay or something like that virtually, and so that's part of the increase that we're seeing. Anyway, so that's just, I apologize. I will get you, I don't know what's happening with my coloring there, but I will get you the one that I intended to. Everything's right, the numbers are all right.
Yeah.
I just had my highlights different and better, I thought, before. So
Any question on the budget? Next item of business then is discussion of the 25-26 District Administrator Evaluation Timeline.
I don't know if you guys want to change anything. Kind of laid it out there, what we've done the last few years. December, put it on the agenda, talk about the timeline. We get the form gets sent, the electronic form survey gets sent out, filled out, and then usually at the January meeting, we've had that to kind of talk about, give input and feedback back and forth, and then in February have finalize it typically, so I don't know if that's up to all of you if you want to follow a similar pattern.
No, that looks good to me.
Yeah,
You guys
I'm
too?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. All right, then the next item of business is the review of the school board election timetable.
Yeah, so just to make sure that we're publicly getting this out there, but we posted the notice for the election. December here is when most people, if they're going to file, would file their candidacy. Any incumbents who are not going to file would give notice by the 26th of December, and then January 6th is the deadline for candidates to file to be on the ballot, 5 p.m. January 6th. At the next board meeting, we'll have the who has filed, and we'll draw the ballot order. And then if there's a need for a primary, that's in February. Otherwise, April 7th is the spring election. So Greg and Corey are up for re-election, as we've said.
Good. Next item of business then is the board policy updates and approvals, second reading.
So this is the second reading. If you guys remember last time, I had, again, apparently I'm having issues with highlighting here with my printing and saving, but I had the one that didn't have the green and red highlights on it. We still muddled through it just fine, but this, I went back and I redid them, resaved them, and I figured out what happened. But so these have the changes marked in there. I don't remember that there were just, well, the question we had last time was about academic honesty and the artificial intelligence, and we talked about how we will modify our handbooks to make sure that we, that all jives together well. Otherwise, I don't recall any other questions that you all wanted me to look into, so I don't have anything new. But if there's anything that anybody had on any of these.
Anybody have anything?
No.
Then I'll entertain a motion for the board policy updates 5505, academic honesty, 5530, student use or possession of intoxicants, drugs, or paraphernalia, 7450, property inventory, 7455, accounting system for capital assets, 7530.02, staff use of personal communication devices, 8500, food services, 8531, free and reduced priced meals, 8550, competitive food sales, 9151, use of cameras and other recording devices in locker rooms. I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve board policy updates and approvals of the second readings as read.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to update our board policies as read. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. The next item of business then is our district administrator superintendent notes, Mr. Chris Peterson.
So since we met last time, the next day after, on November 11th, we had our Veterans Day program. And so that was in both buildings. We had elementary and high school, and just both programs were excellent, went very well. We had nice attendance. Our students were excellent. And so just, thank you to everyone involved with that. And then that lays the groundwork for the next thing I wanted to share, that we'll be doing something new this year, kind of neat, a veterans wreath laying program. So Mrs. Rubel volunteered to coordinate that. So December 15th at the Veterans Memorial over at the cemetery, there's going to be a short program. And then we've got a number of students that are going to participate. And they're going to be, this is coordinating with the Veterans Memorial, and if it's is it the VFW or is it the American Legion, or both?
I think it's both. Wreaths Across America.
Wreaths Across America. So they have a bunch of wreaths that they'll go out, 350 of them. They're going to go out in area cemeteries and lay on the graves of veterans in our area. So that'll be a neat program. So we've had a bunch of music stuff. So Lakeland Honors Band and Choir happened right before Thanksgiving. We had several participants from Clear Lake, from the high school, involved in that, in the band and the choir. We had a very well-enjoyed Thanksgiving break here recently. It's a long stretch from September 1st to that first kind of long break, and everyone's very happy when it comes. We underwent a reduction of bus routes. We reduced one route, and that went, I think, about as well as it could. That was kind of a, not something usual to do during the school year, but credit to the transportation staff, and then the drivers went out, drove their new routes, made phone calls to inform changes. We started the changes on last week, Monday, December 1st, and had really few to no hiccups with that, so it went very well. And we know winter sports have gotten going and been competing here. We're in our new conference this year, which is a fun experience. And aside from, it's not just about sporting things and athletics, but also just the collaboration that we have at all levels, the athletic directors, the principals, the superintendents. We're enjoying, forming those new relationships and collaborating with those groups. Really a bunch of fine people, as there were just a bunch of great people in the Lakeland as well, but just a bunch of really great people to collaborate with. So that's been enjoyable and positive. Parent-teacher conferences here at the high school were last week. We have the junior high band and choir concert, of course, tonight at 7 o'clock. A bunch of you, or some of you, might be going to that with kids. High school concert is next Monday, the 15th, and we've got the elementary holiday programs on Monday, December 22nd. The little ones, JK and K, at 9:30 in the morning, and then the 1st through 6th graders in the afternoon at 1:15. And then what else? We're also on Weather Watch season. We were talking about that a little bit before the board meeting. That starting tomorrow, I think, will be the way the winter is shaping up with the early onset. I'm hopeful that we don't have a bunch of days impacted. So we had a kind of a quiet year last year, so I guess law of averages maybe we're going to be due, but I hope not. So that's all
Are
I've
we
got.
ready to do some of them online if needed be?
I think if we need
teachers
to.
touch base.
I think if we need to, we've got that possibility in our back pocket. Yep, for sure. And we've made use of that, and I think it's a nice tool to have. And I think those have been well received, I think, by families too. We know there's flaws in doing that, but we also know there's flaws in coming back on Monday, June 10th, or whatever, June 9th, or whatever it might be. So that's all I've got.
That's a good question. All right, next item of business then is our contemplated closed session. Thanks everybody for joining us.
And I'll say, Greg, I don't know if I had on there in case anybody wanted to discuss any of the compensation stuff. I don't know if there's a reason beyond that for it, unless any of the members feel that there is. So, and if there is, great. But if not,
Let's go in, and if there's not, we'll get out right away. Contemplated closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statutes 19.85, paragraph 1C. The board will discuss staffing and staff compensation. I'll pull the board. Nettie?
Yes.
Corey?
Yeah.
Myself, yes. Christie?
Yep.
And Matthew?
Yes.
All right. We are enclosed. As soon as the record. All right, we're back to open. Does anybody have anything that they'd like to see on a future agenda? All right, seeing none, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
It's been properly moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourned.